Saturday tea time. You're at the table, staring down a plate of liver and onions while the cheers of your friends playing football echo from outside. The clock's tick is like thunder in the silence. Your mum stands by the sink, arms folded, and you know the unbreakable rule. You're not leaving until that plate is spotless. This isn't just about what we ate back then. It's about what we were forced to consume. The ones that made you gag, that you'd sneak into your napkin or slip to the dog. The ones that came with the ultimate threat: no dessert until it's gone. In the 50s, 60s, and 70s, wasting food was a cardinal sin. Mums had their tricks to ensure every last bite disappeared. Here are the 21 foods every British child had to face, whether they wanted to or not. Tapioca pudding was instantly dubbed frog spawn by children, the moment they laid eyes on it. Those translucent little balls bobbing in milk looked like they belonged in a pond. Dinner ladies would plop it into bowls, adding a dollop of strawberry jam as if it could somehow redeem the dish. But the texture was the real horror, slimy and slippery, each ball slithering down your throat like it was alive. Kids gagged. Stirring in the jam turned everything an unsettling shade of pink. Some tapioca balls were still hard in the middle, while others burst unpleasantly. Throughout the 50s and 60s, schools served this at least once a week. The memory makes adults shudder even now, reminiscing on that bowl of frog spawn. Then there was boiled cabbage, its pungent odor detectable from 3 streets away. The sulphurous aroma seeped under doors, through windows, and into your clothes. Mothers boiled it until it was grey and mushy, all the vitamins leached into the water. It graced every Sunday roast in the 50s and 60s because it was cheap and readily available. Kids pushed it to the plate's edge, while fathers drowned it in gravy to mask the taste. The texture was mush, the taste, bitter. Dinner ladies heaped it onto plates in soggy mounds, and you could see other kids across the hall grimacing, forcing it down. Some held their noses, others swallowed without chewing. The smell lingered for days, in your hair, on your uniform. You knew it would return. Semolina with jam developed a thick, rubbery skin as it cooled, floating on top like something out of a sci-fi movie. School canteens dished it out steaming from enormous pots, its consistency somewhere between wallpaper paste and cement. You'd poke the skin with your spoon, watching it wobble. Breaking through felt like tearing paper. The semolina beneath was grainy, slightly gritty, and coated your mouth with a texture you couldn't forget. Imagine a bowl of porridge, where the only burst of flavor comes from a dollop of strawberry jam. Moms, back in the day, would carefully measure grains and stir the milk until it thickened, only to see their kids master the art of eating around the dreaded skin on top. But oh, moms were vigilant. Sooner or later, you'd have to face that layer, chewing, swallowing, trying to ignore the odd texture that lingered long after the bowl was empty. Enter the era of spam fritters, the staple of school dinners. Thick slices of processed pink pork, dunked in batter and fried to golden perfection. The aroma was deceivingly pleasant, but one bite in, and you'd encounter a world of salty, metallic, slightly gelid meat. The batter would cling in soggy layers, accompanied by beans and chips throughout the 70s. At home, when money was tight, spam fritters stretched a meal for 6. Kids would bite through the crispy exterior to find that unmistakable pink square, grappling with the texture that felt more like a science experiment than food. Yet, plates had to be cleared, and each mouthful washed down with weak squash. Then came the jelly from the tin, an unappetizing mix of grey, see-through wobble between meat and batter. And Brussels sprouts? A winter and Christmas staple, boiled to oblivion. Small, bitter green spheres with a crosscut to speed up cooking, though it did anything but. Bought by the pound, moms boiled them into mushy, sulphurous lumps. Kids would stab at them, trying to diminish their size, enduring their metallic bitterness like a concentrated dose of plant fury. 4 or 5 would sit on your plate, daring you to finish. Some kids became adept at napkin disposal tactics, others fed them to the family dog, but most just suffered in silence, knowing the sprouts would return, smaller, greener, more determined to ruin dinner. And for the bravest of stomachs, there was tripe and onions, a dish that tested the limits of culinary courage. Cow's stomach lining, pale and honeycombed, simmered in milk with onions until tender. In Lancashire and Yorkshire during the 50s and 60s, it was cheap protein when options were scarce. The texture? Rubbery, with a slight squeak at each bite, and visually, well, it was better left unsaid.
Белоснежное, с отчетливыми узорами, оставленными коровьим желудком. Дети шарахались от него, а бабушки и дедушки обожали. Мамы настаивали: Попробую хотя бы кусочек. В 1950-х только в Манчестере было более 200 магазинов, торгующих рубцом. На рынках его продавали уже готовым к приготовлению, и семьи стояли в очередях, чтобы его купить. Но дети никогда не хотели его есть. Запах приготовки был резким, вкус — странным, а сознание того, что ешь настоящий желудок, делало каждый кусок испытанием. Одни семьи подавали его холодным с уксусом, другие — в молочно-белом соусе. В любом случае, это было наказание. Чернослив с заварным кремом шел с предупреждением: «Осторожно, косточки». Эти сморщенные темно-коричневые сухофрукты плавали в желтом креме. Мамы давали их, чтобы поддерживать регулярность. Чернослив был лекарством. Ложка перед сном, и все идет как по маслу. Но дети его ненавидели. Текстура скользкая, косточки опасные. Ты ожидаешь мягкий фрукт, а натыкаешься на твердую косточку. Вкус слишком сладкий, приторный, как у лекарства. Как что-то, что притворяется едой. Заварной крем чуть исправлял ситуацию, но чаще ты просто пытался языком найти косточки, чтобы не сломать зуб. Некоторые черносливы были с кожурой, грубые, живучие. Их невозможно было как следует прожевать. Если бы можно было, ты бы их проглотил целиком, лишь бы поскорее покончить с этим. Но мамы следили. Доедай как следует. Не глотай. И ты жевал. И жевал. Кашица из тушенки превращала консервированное мясо в обед. Этот розовый и прессованный говяжий фарш с видимым жиром и хрящами обжаривали с картошкой и луком. Мамы открывали банку с помощью специального ключа, и мясо выпадало одним сплошным блоком. Дети наблюдали, как его нарезают и жарят. Кухню наполнял знакомый металлический запах. Сама кашица была не ужасной, картошка и лук спасали положение. Но эти кубики тушенки, серый жир, жилки, которые не прожевать. И время от времени желе. Дети ковырялись в тарелках, пытаясь избежать самых непривлекательных кусочков. Но мамы не сдавались. Это хорошее мясо. Дорогое. Не выбрасывай. И ты ел. После войны, после карточек, выбрасывать еду было грехом. И кашица из тушенки испытывала это терпение каждый раз. Тушеный ревень без достаточного количества сахара моментально заставлял рот морщиться. Этот волокнистый, кислый стебель нарезали и варили, пока он не разваливался. В садах он рос легко, бесплатная еда, требующая лишь воды и времени. Так что семьи его ели. Часто результат был кислым до скрежета зубов. Дети ели его с заварным кремом, пытаясь добавить сладости. Но ревень всегда побеждал.
Those long, fibrous strings caught between your teeth, and the sourness was overwhelming. Some families dared to serve it as pudding after Sunday dinner. Others opted for a rhubarb crumble, which was manageable if there was enough sugar in the topping. But straight stewed rhubarb? That was a real challenge. You'd take a spoonful, and your whole face would scrunch up, eyes watering, mouth tightening, under the watchful gaze of Mum. It's good for you, she'd insist, touting its vitamin content as if that could offset the sour punch. Then there were the broad beans, with their tough outer skins that were nearly impossible to eat properly. Those large, pale green beans were boiled until the insides were soft, but the skins remained stubborn, chewy, and unyielding. Kids learned the art of discreetly slipping the beans out of their skins with their teeth, savoring the tender insides while leaving the skins abandoned on the plate. But Mum caught everything. Eat it properly. All of it. Gardens and allotments were brimming with broad beans throughout the spring and summer. Fresh, they said. Healthy. But kids weren't impressed by freshness. They were focused on that leathery skin that lingered in their mouths, refusing to break down. Bitter when chewed, picking them young helped. But once they grew big, once those beans swelled to full size, the skins became like armor, and you were expected to eat every single one. No complaints, no leaving the table. Broad beans were good for you. That's what mattered. Mashed potatoes with lumps divided families. Some didn't mind, others couldn't stand them. School kitchens churned out massive quantities of mash daily, with boiled potatoes either pressed through ricers or mashed by hand. But with hundreds of children to feed, some potatoes stayed stubbornly whole. You'd scoop up a forkful of smooth, white mash, only to bite down on a raw, hard chunk. The shock of it. Children called them bombs. Instant potato powder solved this problem in the 70s. No lumps, but it tasted metallic, chemical, wrong. Homemade mash at least tasted real, even with the lumps. Mothers, tired after long days at work, mashed quickly, and sometimes lumps lingered. Kids picked them out. Fathers ate without noticing. But mums weren't having it. It's mashed potato. It's fine. Eat it. And so you did, carefully watching each forkful, hoping to dodge another bomb, another mouthful that was half smooth, half crunchy. And then there was macaroni pudding, an enigma to children. Pasta in a pudding? Sweet pasta cooked in milk with sugar. Schools served it throughout the 60s and 70s. That odd texture. Picture this. Soft macaroni lazily drifting in a pool of sweetened milk. A culinary enigma, neither delightful nor dreadful, just utterly perplexing. Your taste buds anticipate a savory experience, yet they're ambushed by unexpected sweetness. The dissonance is overwhelming. Some kids found it oddly enjoyable, but most were baffled. The macaroni swelled, teetering on the brink of disintegration, while the milk thickened ominously, sometimes forming that dreaded rubbery skin reminiscent of semolina. You'd pierce through it, stir vigorously, trying to salvage the dish. But the mystery remained unsolved for the children. Why pasta? Why sweet? Why this strange concoction? The questions lingered as they reluctantly emptied their bowls, one peculiar, mushy mouthful at a time. Then there were the processed peas from tins, turning a dismal grey when heated. These were not the vibrant frozen peas of the future. They were the old guard, mushy, khaki-coloured, with a texture akin to wet sand. Schools bought them by the industrial tin, doling out hundreds of servings per container. They accompanied everything: grey peas with minced meat, grey peas with fish, grey peas with sausages. The taste was metallic, slightly bitter, and the texture disintegrated at the mere touch of a fork. Kids would drown them in gravy to mask their presence. Eat your vegetables, they were told. But these were imposters, grey mush masquerading as vegetables. At home, mothers opened smaller tins labelled marrow-fat peas. The label promised vibrant green, but the reality was far from it. You'd spoon them onto your plate, watching them ooze, and you'd eat them, because that's what you did. Because Mom said so. Because somewhere in that grey mass, there were vitamins. Probably. Liver and onions reigned supreme on every child's list of dreaded dishes. Schools served it weekly throughout the 60s and 70s, a cheap source of iron despite its infamy. Butchers offered pig's or lamb's liver for pennies per pound, making it a staple for working families. Mothers fried it with onions until it turned grey and rubbery, the metallic aroma saturating the kitchen. Children chewed endlessly, the texture akin to shoe leather, struggling to swallow. The fat congealed on cooling plates while Mom watched intently. Each bite was a metallic assault, tinged with the taste of blood. And sometimes, you'd spot those pale tubes snaking through the meat, veins or ducts that shouldn't be there. That's when the real challenge began. But there was a silver lining: bread and butter pudding, transforming Sunday's leftovers into Monday's dessert. Layers of dry bread soaked in a rich blend of eggs, milk, and sugar, scattered with currants, then baked to perfection, the top crisping beautifully. When done right, it was a comforting delight amidst the culinary chaos. When bread pudding went wrong, and it often did, it was a culinary roller coaster. Some parts emerged soggy, while others were charred to a crisp. The currants transformed into tiny black pellets, exploding with a burst of sour sweetness. Kids would scramble for the crispy corners, steering clear of the soggy middle. That's where the raw egg mix settled, turning the bread into a gooey, custardy blob that clung to your spoon and was a challenge to swallow. If the balance was off, too much liquid, not enough sugar, eating bread and butter pudding felt more like a chore than a treat. And then there was the rice pudding skin, the ultimate dinner table battleground. That thick, brown, wrinkled layer baked to perfection on top of the pudding. Some families adored it, battling for every piece. Others, especially the kids, despised it. The texture was leathery, chewy, just plain wrong. Beneath it, the rice pudding was perfectly fine, sweet, warm, comforting. But that skin, that blessed, cursed skin, was unavoidable. Mums insisted, that's the best bit. Eat it. Children tried to mix it in, breaking it into smaller pieces, hiding it among the rice. But it never truly vanished. You'd take a spoonful, soft rice, then, suddenly, there it was again, The skin. Your teeth working through it. Swallowing took effort. Schools served rice pudding every week in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, baked in massive trays in the oven. Every tray grew a skin, and every child faced the same dilemma: eat it or else. Pilchards on toast brought the sea to breakfast, whether you welcomed it or not. Those large, oily fish in tomato sauce, like sardines but bigger, were a staple. Mothers would open the tin, drain the sauce, and mash the pilchards onto buttered toast. The small bones stayed in. They're good for you. Calcium. So, you ate, bones and all. The taste was robust, fishy, oily, salty. The bones were soft yet crunchy,